Hello, everyone. This is Coach Matt for the Seattle Chess School. Tonight, we'll do some commentary in this third edition of the Thursday Night Chess Arena. So far, we only have 3 players in the tournament. We've got Cyrus, we've got LJJ, we've got Odeby. So far, Odeby and Cyrus are playing. We'll say hello to LJJ here. And we'll go right to this game. All right, so Odeby's got white against Cyrus. We could look at it from the point of view of Cyrus 9 here, Sicilian, Rossolimo, G6, one of the main lines, Bishop G7, capture right away. And here, of course, Black has got both ways. Some D takes C, B takes C. Both of them have their adherents. Looks like Cyrus is a B takes kind of guy. Knight C3, E6, D3. So looks like both sides are setting up a good battle plan here. Black's got the 2 bishops, glom of center pawns, half open file. White's got a solid structure, targets to work with. He's got the right bishop. All the weaknesses are on dark squares. E5, trying to highlight D6. Possibly going knight E4 on the next move. White does have a slight lead in development, so he can overextend himself. He can also guard this pawn a few times, so it's not going to be that bad. Looks like a good beginning to the game. All right, so while that is going on, let's check to see if there's anybody else. No, LJJ, we need a 4th person to get a tournament going here. But all right, well, we'll just we'll stick with this game then. All right, knight to D5. So offering a trade, which would significantly improve Black's pawns. Knight takes, C takes. And then the bishop could be well placed on B7 with a future D4. White should probably refuse this with knight to E4. Picking on, oh yeah, no, see now that's an instructive move there. Knight to E4. I mean, there's 2 separate targets. Bishop G5 is a a futuristic problem. The knight would be well placed on D5, but of course, White's knight will be well placed on E4 there. This capture and this capture, this improves Black's prospects considerably, specifically this bishop. Bishop G5, yep, just move the queen. All right. So at the moment, it seems like that, White has still got the solid position, but it's the futuristic potential here with these bishops. I think this is going to be hard to deal with in the long term. Bishop to B7, followed by D4. Also D6 at some point, maybe trying to rip open this diagonal. Maybe Rook B8, trying to encourage more weaknesses on this diagonal. Can always castle. Rook E1 seems reasonable. Okay, so here we go. So trying to provoke some sort of weakening. Seems like a good move. No game going on elsewhere. Okay, so forcing the rook to do something kind of oddball there. Yeah, castling is actually a mistake here now that you've committed with rook to b8, because then bishop to e7 hitting the rook and threatening bishop d6, picking on the other rook. So the king is actually forced to stay here for at least one move. But here we have the secondary idea, which is to play d4 and to improve the bishop. Does White want to prevent this? Does White want to slow it down? No, White chose to ignore it. So castles, but that runs into bishop to e7. So this is tactic time now here for White. Odeby's got a chance here. He doesn't want to go after the bishop like this, though. Yeah. This was winning material. All right. So, and here we have the dream move. So this improves the bishop dramatically. So now all the dark squares are weak. Is that enough to win? Like queen g5. Be nice to be able to lift up the rook and slide him over, but the bishop prevents that. We don't have a good rook lift. All these squares are taken up. So how does white introduce a rook into this attack? It'll be just basically the pawn, knight, and queen, and that's about it. Not Charlie, but here, this, and this. I wonder if that would be enough. Suppose you could try to add Harry into the fray. H4, maybe encourage H5. Some sort of weakness. This might be an interesting moment in the game. Queen E2. Wonder what this is doing. Trying to post the queen on G4? Seemed like that the queen was well placed here. You had F4, G5. These seem like reasonable squares. Maybe not F4 because of pawn F. Oh no. Okay, wait. No. This would be check. Yeah, sometimes when the queen is on C7, and with this lineup, you could play F5 to prevent this, but this actually now is check. So actually, queen G5 was probably a perhaps reasonable move at least. So centralizing, attacking. I see. He was worried about bishop takes F3, but I don't know if I don't think black was threatening to take the knight. Maybe that was the fear, was that bishop takes knight, force G takes F, and and then he would have weak pawns. But then again, then he would have that rook E4 move, and maybe we can use this rook on a variety of squares. So I don't know if that was such a natural fear there. So here the breach was encouraged. Now some of these squares might be interesting. Yeah, white will have a hard time activating any of these guys, maybe even including the knight. Suppose you could try knight G5, E4, something like this. All right, we'll do a quick check to see if any other players have showed up. Nope. Still got a three-player tournament here. All right. That is okay. A5, A4. So all these pawns are now fixed. All right. Well, these are all fixed on light squares. We got a light square bishop. So I suppose that's okay. Well, no real pawn breaks over there. So maybe black should just turn all of his attention to the king side. H6, rook H8, something. It's interesting. It's setting him thinking. So how to improve the position? No more pawn breaks over here. So can't improve the rooks. I mean, you have this pawn break here. Not certain whose position that would improve. Yeah, this pawn break here, which looks a tad risky, but then again, maybe the half open F file means something. F6, E takes F, queen takes, rook takes F6. Maybe that was worth something. Okay, so he goes for light square domination here. Trying to boa constrictor the position. Oh, wait a minute. Do we have a fourth player? Mm-hmm. All right. Well, if that's so, then why doesn't he join the tournament? Hmm. Well, we'll deal with that some other time. Okay, so it looks like that white played h4, black goes in for an offering of a 4-rook endgame here. Probably if queen takes, then black is probably going to exchange queens and go into a 4-rook endgame where white will have some beat up pawns and black will only have the one isolated. Oh, but look at this. Decides to keep the queens on. Now plays h5. So now we got a lot of fixed pawns here. These are fixed. This is fixed. This guy basically can't move. This guy's fixed. I mean, I guess this guy technically isn't fixed, but I mean, there's, really no chance of maneuvering. So basically, yeah, black's down to d6 and f6, trying to improve his rooks. How white improves the rooks will be an open question, but look at this. Maybe he's trying rook g1. Rook g1, maybe some sort of f pawn throw. That might be reasonable. Maybe rook g1, rook g5. Okay. So finally goes for this break. I think this is a good decision. This f file is going to be important. Okay. So he's giving it a think. So he goes for the attack. All right. So this is coughing up the f pawn after takes, but well, wait a minute. No, check. King. Yeah, it might be hard to defend this f pawn. So Cyrus goes for this. So queen takes his check. King moves out of the way, and the f pawn should be falling. Okay, and since the queen is on this rook, obviously it's following in this direction. Although I suppose I could try rook g3, and then capturing here is met by capturing this way, possibly. So white's got a centralized queen. That's always dangerous. Okay, a couple minutes later, only king h7 and rook g3 has been played. So indeed they can. Well, maybe not. So, yeah, maybe not. All right. So Odabe's got this clear plan of doubling. And now all of a sudden, maybe his rooks aren't quite so bad. It took a little while. Once the rooks get doubled here, there might be some possibility of a queen takes h5 sacrifice. So Cyrus has got to be a little careful. Okay, rook b e8. Okay. Rook b e8. That's an interesting move. So does this mean he's going for a d6 push? Try to get the queen out of there? This might have been, this is an interesting, I guess, hopefully this has an interesting idea behind it. Let's see how this goes. Okay, so the doubling happened. So now we have some real action here. How to defend g6. Counterattack the queen. Counterattack the queen, but in this fashion. Okay. So not too many places to go to. Just here or sacrifice, which he's probably not going to do. So my guess is it'll be or queen to e4. Okay, so now offering a queen trade. So NW, who just joined the tournament, NW Sedentary, suggests that instead of rook to g3, that maybe rook takes g6 was immediately possible. He might have a point. Let's see, rook takes g6, king takes g6, rook g1 check. Yeah, that actually works. And then rook to g1 check, king f7, rook g7 check, king to e8, and queen takes rook. Is checkmating. How about that? Yeah, no, no. Rook g6 leads to mate. So, yeah. So queen d6. All right, so this pins the rook, which does slow down any rook takes g6 ideas. So we would expect some sort of unpinning, king h3, king h1, something. Yep, king h1. King h3 might have been a little bit more aggressive. Okay, did it that okay, we're gonna go back into here. Did the second game not start? The second game has not started. Why is this? Well, okay. That's I guess that's what happens in tournament chess. They just don't start right when everybody's ready. Starts when it wants to. Okay, so here he exchanges 2 rooks for the queen. Okay, it looks like both players are agreeable to this. So as is well known in this endgame, if the 2 rooks can get coordinated, then this is an extremely strong team that the queen almost can't defend against because it's 2 versus 1. Also, having a bunch of weaknesses to play against is actually quite useful as well for the queen. The king is also somewhat open, but so is this guy. I mean, I don't know. I think this queen might have the advantage in this one, even though the rooks can get coordinated right here. We shall see. Now they're getting low on time here, although we're playing a 10+5 tournament. So he did. He coordinated the rooks. So that means this might be a way to get the rooks into the position. So it'll be interesting if he actually tries to hold on to f3 for a second. All right, so all kinds of different forks can be played here. Queen here's triple fork. This is a triple fork. This is a fork, good old fashioned one. Huh, did he actually have queen g8 there? All right, so both sides have king problems now. This check might be interesting. See if you could go king f5, queen e4 mate. That might have been a funny way to end the game. Mm-hmm. Now that this king is very exposed, maybe white should just give check on every turn. Even this check, maybe. See, this isn't check, though. This might be a little bit of a problem. Now, black has a draw if they want it. This check next. And then just go from f3 to f2. And that's a perpetual. The pawn will always prevent the king from escaping. So black has a draw if wanted here. Oh, and offers a draw. Might as well accept, because if black offers it, obviously it's already on. So you might as well just accept. And they accept. Wow. Okay. Reasonable battle. Odeby, of course, missed a couple of good shots there, but it was still a very good fight. All right. So now they actually might have two games that'll start simultaneously. Let's see how this goes. Come on. Here we go. That was a fun game. I agree. Yes, very nice. And everyone's meeting each other. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's take a look at LJJ versus Odeby here. Well, looks like it's a French. Maybe on the small board we'll, no, nah. We'll check the progress as needed. Okay, so here we have an exchange French. NW Sedentary also plays exchange French, so we'll probably see this more than once in the tournament. Knight c6, I don't know if that's the most accurate move here. Actually, I'm not even certain what I mean, maybe bishop g4 is most accurate. Maybe it's bishop d6. Maybe it's even c5. I don't know. I guess this is an interesting move that is played a lot of times. I mean, you have like a bishop d6, knight ge7 sort of formation. Let's see what Odeby goes with here. Bishop e3. That's pretty solid. Bishop g4. Okay. Solid, but yeah, I don't know. The bishop is doing the job of a pawn. Maybe this bishop wants to be here. Maybe it wants to pin something on f6 once it gets there. Maybe it didn't want to move. I don't know. Okay, so it looks like we're going to be in for a solid battle here. Everybody's just going to develop their pieces calmly and not really try to refute their opening. That's fine. Perfect. Let's see what so here on this board, Cyrus versus NW Sedentary, we've got a mainline Sveshnikov defense, which both players play this with the black pieces. So this is very interesting. A very interesting theoretical battle. Yeah, both players like this defense with black. Take, and white to move. Okay, so yeah, c3 or c4. These are all moves. Designed to either put pressure on black's queenside pawns or to give an avenue to recycle this knight from a3 to c2 to e3. In which case you'll have a pair of really excellent knights, since d5 is a hole. Black on their part will at some point play bishop to g5, and when the knight shows up on e3, exchange one of these guys so that two knights don't have the ability to go here. So it looks like Cyrus has given this a think. Very well. Okay, so let's go back to the other game. Let's see what has happened here. So we have a little bit more action. So here, let's see. LJJ has played h3 and g4. Good thing he has castled behind this, although maybe he might castle anyway. That might be a little bit scary. This bishop actually has a really important point that you can't just exactly develop your queen and castle right away when c2 hangs. So he might actually have to waste a tempo here to try to protect his king. Black, of course, has gone for the one of the typical exchange French formations. Knight c6, bishop d6, knight e7. This gives black the flexibility of, say, perhaps lifting up the queen and castling long, or just getting on with it and castling short and just playing the position. Both of these ways are perfectly acceptable. Probably castling short is actually a quicker plan where black can get their, the counterplay going a little bit faster than with queen d7. Also, since white has a lot of stuff that can hurdle down the board on the queen side, castling queen side isn't exactly safe. All right, so knight e5. All right, so putting pressure here, heating up the game. Now, this does open the position before white has done something with their king. Black hasn't done anything with their king either, so this might lead to some excitement here. We might get to see some tactical play. Knight e5, a6. Okay, so forcing the action some way or another. Ooh, now we got all kinds of things under attack. Now, of course, here black gets to capture if they want to and develop the rook without moving him, which is an excellent way to activate rooks without any loss of time whatsoever. Possibly could even take this with the knight if they wanted to and try to farm on h4. That might be interesting. No, well, wait a minute. This is knight takes rook, though. Yeah, okay. So this is an effort to make it a little too interesting. But now the rook is gone. All right. Well, we'll assume we'll check in with LJJ's technique here later on. But let's see what's going on in this game. So here we have the typical thing. The knight went to e3, bishop gone to g5. Let's check out how the moves happen. So c4 happened instead of c3. b4, knight ce2, castle, bishop d3, a5, b3. So the queen side is a little more solid. Black still has a break with a4 if ever needed. But bishop to e3, anticipating a knight to e3 in the future. Castle, bishop e6, knight c e3. So even though white has some really powerful looking knights, black has done something about this and can do something about this at any time just by capturing one or the other. Notice that if we capture the d5 knight, it just simply gets replaced by another. So more than likely, if one of these knights is going to get captured, it will be the e3 knight, and then white will have a decision on how to capture back. Nevertheless, if the knight does take on e3, then going back into the squares f5 or d5 in the future will just simply be met by a capture. So this is, very good play here by Sedinary on how to deal with outposted knights and ones that look like that they're difficult to get rid of. Giving it a think as well. Both sides in this case have an f4 and f5 break that they could try to entertain. Look at this. So he throws a knight d4 first. This is interesting because now if a capture, maybe white could entertain the idea of taking with the pawn and getting rid of this guy with tempo. That would open up a rook file. Maybe that might be worth something. We shall see. So reasonably good play by both players here. Yes. And of course, the world champion, Magnus Carlsen, is a huge fan of this Sveshnikov. So it's not surprising that this is permeated everywhere. And now everybody's finding ways to, play this defense and get all kinds of really interesting play all over the board. I mean, you get like interesting queenside play, you get interesting center play, you have futuristic chances on the king side. And this is true with both colors. So it, usually leads to an exciting adventure of some kind, at least for a little while. Even the endings are kind of interesting. All right. So it looks like they're giving it a think. So let's see if there's any more action on this side of the board. All right. So when we last left this game, the h8 rook was captured. Black now went for the queen d7, followed by castle's setup. However, the knight gets to save itself. Yeah, good thing he didn't pin. Pinning would have lost a knight takes d6 check and queen takes rook. So rook to e8 was played, check anyway. And now it looks like that if white just simply guards his king somehow, he's up +6 in the position. Probably even castling short is maybe even better. Maybe he's got to maybe play it careful for a move or two. I don't see anything wrong with castling long. You can defend against any of this. You have enough pieces. Wonder if he's dreaming of an attack of some kind. Maybe he's trying to go like knight b3 to c5. But you probably definitely, I mean, it looks like you got to get this king off this e file. I mean, you got a long distance line up here. The rook is on the king, but there's bodies in the way. But you got to think of it as if you're in check. But this is a special kind of check where you can actually castle out of this one if you so choose. So he does go for kingside castling. This is probably reasonably okay. I mean, black does have knight to g6, but there's enough square control here that I don't think black can get anything going with what he has left. This is good thinking here. Good play. Good play there. All right. So while that's going on, let's go back to the other game. So some knights have been taken away. How did that happen? So knight to d4. So knight to f5 was tried. This guy was captured. Oh wow! And suddenly white resigned. Okay, so something happened there. Knight f5 capture, takes, and so both knights got exchanged off. Here, rook c8. So this dominates the c file, and suddenly this bishop is extremely good. And rook c1. Oh, overlooking that the bishop was on it. So then when black yeah, okay. So this is an appropriate time to resign. All right. Well, that is unfortunate for Cyrus there. That was a perfectly good beginning there. Knight to g6. Okay, so here, yeah, I mean, we have some knight h4s. We have some rook f8s. We have, maybe, I don't know, maybe some sort of h5 break looming or something like that. Queen g3 here would be a blunder. Black could just trade queens and then win the bishop on e3. So white should probably play defensively here. Or, well, let's see. No. No, this is hanging. What am I talking about? He's got two guys on it. So you just take it. Let's take it with a knight. Yeah. Whoops. Okay. Now he is still up a piece, or up 3 points rather. So he's up an exchange and a pawn. Yeah, that maybe black actually had more counterplay than I thought. Castling did look like a really brave move, but queenside castling probably would have ended up being better there. And then he can hold his position better, and also, like, I mean, he only had like these pieces on the queen side, a very limited space. Not likely he could have generated a queen, a checkmating attack on the queen side. But all right, well, still up 3 on the scoreboard, threatening to trade rooks. Black, of course, could play rook f8, generate more problems. Maybe follow that up with g5 and h5. Something like this. I guess knight takes d4 is also on. Well, no. This is check. So yeah, just rook f8. Maybe he's calculated what he would do is if he took first and then went knight to d4. He did that. Yeah, no, down material. Try to keep your material. When you trade, if you're down in material and you trade, all you're really doing is taking away a lot of bullets that you could use against your opponent. So this is probably his only moment to do this. Yeah, okay. So the question is, should he throw in a check and then try to support the rook? Or should he just move the queen? It's starting to look a little scary now. He's up 2 on the scoreboard, but black's pieces are excellent here. This knight is not active. This rook is okay, but almost without targets, and the queen is somewhat crowded, and the king is somewhat more exposed. So all of this for being 2 points up on the scoreboard. Sometimes not worth it. All right. So this looks like knight takes c2, but there's a queen e8 check. This is hanging though. So this might be a good move. Yeah, and this check is looking pretty deadly. Like you could play c5, but queen e8. Queen e8 looks like following up with rook to e7 or something like this. So this is trying to keep everything off of e8. So it's well motivated. This, under some circumstances, might actually be a reasonable move, but not when all these things are heading this way. We should try to. Yeah, he still has some problems here. You could try to trade queens, but this is still check. I don't know if that means anything. Knight b3. Okay. Okay, so this gives some room for the king and prevents knight invasion on c5 or a5. Does not prevent this, however. So knight takes, queen takes, knight h3 check anyway. And he can pick up one if he wants. Start. Well, maybe. Knight h3, king f1. All right, so all right, so what to target? What to protect? Maybe he should just wait one move and just protect his king from any checks at the moment. He decides to go back. Okay. So anything on h1 is mate. g2, queen to a g2 is mate. Queen to h3 would be unpleasant. Queen on f3 would be unpleasant. If you could get all that. Maybe he's intending here and here. Or some sort of attack like this. He will have king b7. Actually, he's got to be very careful about that. Queen, like putting the queen on e8. There's always this rook e8 stuff. So this is interesting. That takes away queen h6. Hits this one. Does take the takes the pressure off of this though. Huh. So just saving the pawn. Okay. All right. So what to go after here? Maybe some sort of queen e8 check, king b7, queen f8. Might have forced the queens off the board. Does this force the queens off the board? Maybe it does, because we got queen f8 check, like queen g6, queen f8. Queen c6, queen f8. So this does, okay, so this is another way to do it. And now the ladies must get exchanged, and the rook is certainly better than the knight here. White's got a majority. White's already got a pass pawn too. Nope, and then this is where we can use tactics. Queen f8. Probably queen e8 is also winning because of the rook versus knight, but this just wins the knight. And is simple and good based on loose pieces. The knight's undefended. Oh, he missed it. Oh, yeah, queen e7 was a nice move. I agree. So capture, capture. Okay, so probably here is simplest. Just win the pawn. Yeah, simple and good. And only if this pawn glom can start moving up the board is he going to have a chance. Okay, so capturing here does hit this one, which will ruin the pawn glom. Yep, so he has to guard it. Let go pawn go here. Yeah, he does. Go, go, go. Score a touchdown. It's not hard. Just run. Knight can't move. So now the knight can move. However, there's a slight problem. Take, take. You try this, I suppose. Well, I don't know. There's nothing to try. So easiest is probably attacking the pawn, force it to move, capture, capture, and then just get behind the pawn. And that should force resigns. Well, he plays go pawn go. B4. Well, he's got to be a little careful. Maybe these guys can make some sort of tricky breakthrough. Cutting him off. Good. Although now the pawn can't move. Although what he's intending is just to back up the rook and then play go pawn go, which is very simple. I could back up here, I suppose. Yeah, probably only try c3, maybe. Yeah, to try c3 just as a trick move. Go pawn go. Go king go, and that should be it. No real stalemating ideas here. Yeah, and resigns. All right, another great game. All right, so 43 minutes left. Okay, so let's see. This should probably be 1 versus 2, 3 versus 4. We shall see. All right, well, so far so good. Everybody's played at least one game. Some good skill, some good strategic play, reasonable tactical play, good technique in that one. What I was talking about here, the trick that towards the end, one trick he could possibly have tried is to play C3. And the idea is that if white gets greedy and takes on B4, then black can play C2. And suddenly this is queening. Although I guess there would be one technical detail, and that is on rook to d4, you don't want to go to the e file because then white could check and then bring the rook back and stop the pawn. So here it looks like that you can go to the c file because of the b pawn magically guarding the c4 square. So this would actually win for black. I mean, to get through this, I mean, all you really have to do is just capture this one and then take, and then you could bring your king over. You could play, just bring your king over, and this just stops everything. Very simple. But when you're losing, I mean, you got to try some cheesy stuff sometimes. All right, so we got O to B versus Cyrus. Yep, 3 versus 4, and we'll have 1 versus 2 here in a second, I would assume. Yeah, let's go to this game. So we had something like this the first round. So I like this. We have a theoretical battle here. Knight f6. Okay. I think that's the correct move. Here it looks like that the pawn can attack, but we still have knight to d5. Which is still an okay square. We can go from c7 to e6 sometimes. Well, actually not sometimes. That's kind of the usual strategy there if they kick. So this is perfectly good. Prepares castle. Things are well here. Capture, capture, once again, showing preference for the B pawn capture rather than the D. There we have knight d5. So again, black has the maneuver knight c7 to e6, which will put the knight on a fairly good square on your side of the board. It'll have a lot of future potential. It'll have some future potential there. All right. Okay. So again, another position with the two bishops. Kind of an overextended pawn. White's already castled. It's a little bit of a lead in development. So here, once again, knight e4 might be an idea. So maybe in this particular case, maybe knight c7 is still okay. Knight c7, knight e4, knight e6. So here he just chose to capture. So this ends that particular discussion. Now the b file is totally open. So that probably favored black, that particular trade. Queen a5 is happening. This might be a fairly decent initiative for black on the queen side. Castles can happen whenever. Okay, so now, interesting move. Only if, you can't really castle and play queen a5 now that this is here. So he does castle. So that means the queen still can't go out to here. So this means what? Going for an f6 break, maybe? Try to get rid of this pawn. White should probably challenge the queen side, yeah? So this is another way to do it. Queen d2 and then try to bring a rook over. So maybe black should try something active here. f6 does look most active. On any rook b1, that could be met by rook b6. Interesting way to fight for the file. All right, so while this is being built up, let's see if there's a second game going on here. And there isn't. So this is very interesting. Why this game has not started, I do not know. That doesn't seem right. All right, well. Okay, so he did play f6. So now here we'll have some action. Should white take? Should white push? Should white sit? Now pushing, of course, is bad. So he chose to take. And bishop or pawn. He chose pawn. This gives a tempo. But black will have a future f5 at some point. So this is a nice tempo. Perhaps black should play d6. If black does not play d6, then white will probably play bishop d6 themselves, which might be really unpleasant. So this is probably forced. And we still have an interesting fight. Both sides have their both sides have certain counterplay here. This is interesting. So this guy, he probably needs to be rerouted. Can't really go forward anymore. None of those squares really are wonderful. So how should we recycle this guy? Move the queen. Knight to d2. Knight c4. Okay. Well, still not fighting for the b file. So evidently this has no importance at all. Rook fe1. So fighting for an open central file. I mean, how can that be bad? So both sides will have to untangle themselves here. Find something to some sort of target to attack. Black would probably love to play queen to a5 followed by queen a3. But this guy needs constant protection. Maybe rook f7 with the idea of just simply covering the second rank, possibly doubling on the b file, and trying to play bishop f8 and have something else hold on to this guy. And then put the queen on a5. Something like that. He goes for bishop g4. Again, very contacty here. Trying to force him to do something. Again, threatening to damage the pawns. And last game, Odeby got really scared about this, although it ended up happening to his game anyway, which actually gave him a lot of counterplay. This position, though, opening the G file isn't going to give him much counterplay. So maybe this is a serious strategic threat. Although, as we just, I was just wondering here, trying to recycle this guy might be a little too difficult anyway. So it might be just a good idea just to trade him off. If Black wants to give up the bishop for it. Maybe we should just let him. And just get on with, fighting somewhere else. So he does ignore it. He wants to get rid of this. What an interesting move, especially since that bishop was very irritatingly attacking the d6 pawn, and this bishop isn't really doing that much at the moment. This is a very expensive move here, I would say. It costs a lot of tempi just to achieve this. I'm not certain if this, I don't think this bishop was better than White's light square bishop on f4. That bishop was very powerful. Okay, so they exchange, and of course, White has to take here. That's forced. All right, so now we have another major piece endgame. And now all the files are being fought for. And maybe he should still fight for this file. And if rook takes rook check, you can take with the queen and fight for both files. That might be interesting. So he just gets rid of one. So black, after all these years, black ends up with the B file and white ends up with the E file. We'll see which one of these matters most. So here, of course, the A2 pawn has been left all by himself. And of course, if black can ever dive in and take, that means that the A pawn here will be passed. So that might be worth something. And black's queen is suddenly finds some nice things to go with. Queen F5 attacks F3. Queen H3 traps the king. Queen F7 in a sneaky way attacks the A pawn. So we have some ideas here that we can play with. Certainly, rook B2 looks like an idea. I suppose black could also just say, you know what, let's go into a queen ending. I don't know if that's quite so good. Black's actually got a reasonable rook here. If white tries to double, king F7 will put an end to that, at least temporarily. So, how interesting. Okay, so while this endgame is being developed, yeah, okay, so still don't have a game going there. That's too bad. I don't know why that is. All right, well, let's just go back to this game. And let's flip it around here, see it how we were seeing it. Okay, so white, in fact, doubled, and black, in fact, played king F7. So in some cases, this might compel black to play rook to E8, which will go into a king and pawn endgame. And be interesting to see if anybody has an advantage in that particular endgame. White will have more pawn weaknesses, but it doesn't look like either side could improve their king dramatically. Probably exchanging all the pieces on E8 means that black has the trek all the way over to here to attack the pawn, and then white can run all over. Very similar to the endgame Cohn versus Rubinstein from a long time ago, where Rubinstein won a king and pawn endgame very similar to that, getting the king to A3 and making white come over and just walk back and forth from the center to from B1 to A1, while black was getting a decisive advantage pushing his pawns. Okay, so queen to D2. So a queen ending could be offered. We don't have the queen F7 resource anymore to pick on this pawn. Rook B2 is still on. Queen F5 is still on. Yeah, maybe rook E8, take with king. H5. H5. What does this? Is this an attack on the white king? Is that what this is? I don't know. All of a sudden, queen H6 is starting to look attractive. Oh, wow. And Odeby plays it. And even NW suggested it. So yeah, we all saw it simultaneously practically. Yeah, this is winning the queen. So that's the first threat. Even if the queen gets protected, some of these pawns might be dropping with check, which could be very unpleasant. Oh, no. Yeah, okay, well. Oh, well, okay. So this forces the queens off. This check wins another pawn if he wants. So Odeby's got a rook and pawn endgame up a pawn. Now these guys kind of make a nice force, and he still has rook B2 after all this. But now it's white that has the passed pawn. So he's using his king. How interesting. Go pawn, go. Go king, go. Yeah, this was a point. So yeah, king g2 is met by rook g8. Yeah, but he missed it. Uh-oh. Oh, and then black missed it too. I think this is a good move here. Threatening to check him. A5. So he's all in on the passed pawn here. Luckily for him, all of these pawns are weak. So he has any manner of so now after all of this, he plays rook b2. How about that? All right, so like this is a tempo, this is a tempo. Oh, interesting. So yeah, pointing out that h3 is a tactical trick, perhaps, maybe. So I still like rook g7 here, threatening this. Oh wow. So yeah, this is not taking this pawn. Oh, he can't take the pawn, it's mate. Oh, that's the point there. So Odeby ought not to take this one. Now maybe he should come over here and take Freddie with check. Yeah, take all the pawns. That's right. Yay, found it. How about that? So yeah, you could take it with check, take, win the rook and pawn endgame easily. Check. When in doubt, eat. Take. Now this one is edible now that it's not mate anymore. So just take all the queenside pawns. Well, maybe this, yeah, this should be okay. Yeah, just take c6. Take the pawn, man. Yay. Just take this one too. The 3 pawn up endgame. Just keep taking, man. Oh, he throws this one in first. Yeah, now he's being hit. So he didn't take time out to take this pawn. Yeah, but this is different now. This is way different. Well, maybe not so different. I mean, this is still a passed pawn, and this doesn't threaten anything. Oh no, now he's giving black chances. What? Yeah, now all of a sudden he's running. He's not. Maybe he was thinking he was playing rook to b8, but that's not going to force capture. Oh, so this is a very instructive error. Yeah, you can only do this rook b8 type stuff when the a7 is protected by something else. Yeah, now he's giving black unnecessary chances here for no reason. Yeah, I agree. This is probably, so he's going back this way. Yeah, king g5 was probably better, trying to help promote Harry here. Go pawn, go. Yeah, his king should be on g5. This would be a much easier draw with all of that. No, rook b8 does not win because black takes on a7. And then black actually has winning chances. All right. So yeah, it'd have been awesome to have the king on G5 instead of G3 for all this. This would be a lot easier. So yeah, so here white's got to draw checking, and then if black goes to the A file, you can go back to the C file, and that's a draw too. And now we have a perpetual. So 2 draws between these guys. But Odabe's had his chances. So this is the only move. Oh, well, yeah. Yeah, only move. You know, it's funny. Maybe he has rook C2. Maybe he can even sack like this, king B2, and then just go king G4. Let him queen. Okay, so he's going for the perpetual here. And then back. Because the rook can never capture. But then again, the king could never approach the 7th rank because then he could take with check. No, oh no, he just lost. Wow, he just lost. He can just take A7. Oh, wait a minute. So wow. Okay, wait a minute. Wow, I think Odabe came up with something. This is check now. Whoa. So king A1, no, that was an extremely sloppy move. That just put him in the range of the pawn. He needed to go back to A2. Yeah, but this is queening with check. No, this is really bad. King A2, queen G8 check. And he can ladder his way over to making checkmate here. Oh no. So queen G8 is the winner here. Yep, there. Oh, he found it. Look at that. And now he can just walk his way up the board until he gets to the 3rd rank, and then he can come over and give check here. So this check is winning, is good. So he's just like walking up the board until he gets to the 3rd rank. And then boom. And that should be the end. Even if he blocks it with the queen, we could just trade queens and then take the rook, and that's winning easily. Step ladder mate. Yep, he's right. Check. Followed by F7, check. Super neat. I totally agree. Check. Wow, and Odabe's finding all of this. Check him one more time, and then this is the killer. He finds it. Okay, now all he has to do is find the killer. Come on, Odabe. Yay, he found it. Good for you. Okay, and he wow. Bravo. Wow, and Odabe's in first place, just like that. But this, I don't know why they didn't pair these two. Very weird. All right. Well, there should be some more games here, but that was extremely interesting. So that I thought maybe that was the key moment there was King A1. Let's back. So it was it the last King A1 or was it this one? So yeah, in fact, before that, he was just going to A2 and B1. Now, by the way, does that actually change anything? Let's see. So King B2, Rook B7, Rook C7, King over, Rook B7. And then if he just simply goes back again, Is this the same thing? Rook to b8? Rook b8. Maybe it's the same thing. Let's see, queen, queen. I suppose black can queen here. And if white queens, then black probably has a perpetual at least here. That would be my guess. This might be worth going on the computer later on, but this is an extremely important idea. And so this was like the critical moment of the game, because when the king went to a7, this actually gave him, or no, actually it was a1 on this turn. So he actually did it twice. But the second time around, Odeby found rook b8, very strong, because this is queening with check. And then Odeby showed us why this was important. Just walked up the board and went to the third rank. Good stuff. All right, we got 2 games going. All right. All right, let's see this one. Sednary versus Odeby. Yep. So another exchange French. Yeah, and NW like C4 here, these variations. So this really opens up the position, makes it more of an open fight. Yeah, H3 was interesting there because taking, and then if black wants to try to take d4 by taking c4, then b7 is hanging. So this is already leading to a wide open fight. So knight c6 is now forced. And then white will probably try knight e5. Yep. Okay, so pressure here. This might be a threat. Now this might be a threat, as is this in some cases. Rook b1 might be nice. This looks like a good attack here for white. All right, we'll get back to this one later on. Let's see what's going on in the other game. So Cyrus versus LJJ. Let's see, what was this? Now LJJ is a Caro Kann player. And we have a main line with the 2 knights variation, bishop g4. This is A way. And then h3. H3, of course, is the best move here. In fact, after h3, black has the option of playing bishop h5 or taking, in which case most players play queen takes f3, but even Mikhail Tal in that position took with the pawn once against Botvinnik in a world championship match and drew. Although, it is very unorthodox, I would say. But anyway, so here we have something more of a French-like formation, but with c6 rather than c5. So black's playing it fairly solidly. White's going for some early contact here. See anything can be made out of this. So here white's very flexible with their king, can go either way. Black should maybe play queen b6 and force him to go long. That might be interesting. Although, let's see, queen b6, there might be a knight d7 tactic. Like take on d7, take on e7, king takes e7, e takes d5. Actually, that wins for white. So queen b6 is actually hard to play here, I would say. Maybe knight take, let's see, like queen b6, knight takes d7, queen takes b2. No. Let's see, taking on f6. G takes f6, king d2. Guarding the knight, threatening rook b1. So maybe queen, okay. So at any rate, it wasn't even black's move, so that wasn't even worth looking at. So here white just is liquidating. Just trade him down. This is probably going to give white a small edge. All right, so we'll check out this game later on. All right, so Okay, so B takes C3, and after some think, O to B goes for castles, which does give away the pawn. And so he has a chance to win one if he wants. This check is a bit annoying, though. I don't know if he wants to allow all of this. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, this doesn't look so special. I mean, rook E8, rook E8, rook E6, rook B8. Well, White's got a pawn here, but all of his development his development's a bit slow. Black might have actually something interesting based on something like rook E6, queen A4, C5, trying to crumble the center. And then if white takes on C5, he might even have D4 there as like an interesting tactical resource. Huh. You might even have some Kasparovian, something like rook takes E3, pawn takes E3, knight E4, threatening queen H4. Might even be that. Gee, wow. Yeah, I think. Oh, so he did find this one. It would be interesting later on to discover if he had rook takes E3 there, followed by knight E4, followed by QH4. I wonder if that was just winning at once. The knight E4 would have guarded F2 and D2, and the bishop guards all the rest. So the king didn't even have a move there. Moving any piece just allowed queen H4. So the question is, could they even block queen H4? So let's see, rook takes E3, F takes E3, knight E4. I guess you have pawn G3. Pawn G3, and then okay. So if that's true, then maybe doing it now. Just take now, and then pawn, and then knight E4, and then G3, and then queen G5, hitting both this and this. That should be winning. Wow, I think NW Sednary's in big trouble here. But you have to use the initiative here. I mean, the point is that black is already castled and has a huge lead in development. And these guys are not participating. And the queen is offsides. So this is his big moment here. He has to see the plan of dumping the knight in and threatening queen H4 or queen G5, both of which are extreme. I mean, you can't defend them. This or this. So I guess he would have what rook takes, pawn takes, knight E4, bishop E2 maybe, queen H4, king D1. No, then knight C3 wins the queen. Oh no. So he doesn't even have that. Wow. Okay. So yeah, he's got an utter brilliancy here. So he finds the one move, but which okay, so it does attack C3, might actually threaten queen or knight F2, might even threaten knight G3 in some cases, but actually I suppose it also threatens queen H4 in some cases. Yeah, good defensive move, but it is defensive. All right, so we'll see. We'll check in with that later on. Let's see what's going on in this game. Okay, so when we last left this game, they were liquidating, right? So knight takes D7, queen takes D7, E5, knight G8, capture, capture, knight A4. So both sides are outposting their knights. Castle, castle, knight to B2. Okay. So we have something of a calm middle game here. Probably Black's got better prospects because of the D pawn. Maybe White should actually try to get through this and play G4 and try to take some of the pressure off. Rook C1. So this is another way to do it. Black would like to be able to keep this knight here, but the typical H5 isn't on anymore when queen takes H5. So, meh. Capture. So he opens the C file with tempo for white. That's interesting decision. So but maybe he's just gonna take. No. Wait a minute. This feels like tactic time. Like queen D3. Queen D3 is here. So maybe queen here? No. And then take E5. Did LJJ just steal 2 pawns for nothing here? Sure looks like it. So yeah, maybe Rook AC1 was just the wrong plan. Black just tactically walked away with 2 pawns here. So White will get the C file and get the 7th rank. So that might be worth something. What? Oh, look at this. Look at this tactic time. He's just going to trade down to another major piece endgame. But this time he's the one with up a couple of pawns. Very interesting. Okay. Also putting pressure here. So if White can make use of the C file, maybe this is worth 2 pawns, but I don't know. I mean, Black's got a really good queen and a passed pawn here. His rooks aren't doing anything though, so that might actually favor White here. So Rook C7, queen takes A2. He makes heir. All right. Well, that certainly allows for the fight for the C file here. Yeah, that seems really good. Wow. Okay, LJJ's got a good position. So Ben needs some. Oh, he needs more than help there. Okay, he just tapped, and that was it. And he goes on pause. All right. Okay. So that was extremely good technique by LJJ there. So what happened in this one? Okay. So yeah, we had knight to E4, queen to F6, pawn takes pawn, won another pawn, and a tempo. Attacking the knight, knight to G3. So that resource did get used. And okay, and then takes the pawn. So we would assume doubling. White still can't castle because of the bishop. So why not double? Hey, he found it. All right, so now he's got to defend against his sacrifice. Maybe king D2. Nah, king d2, rook takes anyway. Yeah, king d2, rook takes, pawn takes, queen f2 is crushing. Yeah, no. So yeah, king d2's out. Queen d2 maybe. Yeah, white has to do something really, really defensive here. This rook is suddenly not good. King's caught in the middle. This is pretty decent for a two-pawn sacrifice, I would say, by Odeby. He's got quite a lot for these 2 pawns, that's for sure. Just giving it a think. Yeah, and no matter what, black is going to be able to increase the pressure here. Queen f4 is going to be a serious threat. Just piling up on the bishop. I hope he's not calculating like throwing in bishop h7. There's no way that could be good. King h8, and then everything's under attack. So that can't be it. Wow, this move is so. He did play king d2, but this immediately loses to rook takes e3, followed by queen to f2. And the point is that the king ever backs up, then you could take g1 with check. Oh, he found. Wow. Suddenly Odeby is on fire. He's getting great positions every game here, seems. This is excellent. So queen f2, king c1, take with check. Take this with check. And then rook to b8, rook b8. That should be the killer right there. Oh my goodness, no. No. Oh, Odeby. Poor Odeby and his technique. Oh, that's too bad. All right, well. Nah, this is Sednary can win this run easily. So we'll spare Odeby the pain there. All right. Well, so we didn't have that many as many games I thought we were going to have, but we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We had quite, we had a few games that we got to analyze. Hopefully this will be useful for at least the 4 players that were playing in the tournament. We'll end the video with that. Thank you guys for watching. This has been Coach Matt for the Seattle Chess School, and we will see you guys on the next one.